This is a continuation of Hand-Me Down My Wife Hunts. So for anybody that's not familiar with Ding Dong, I think it's very important that we familiarise you with her at the start. So I'm going to use the introduction to Hand-Me Down My Wife Hunts, and then we're going to go into the Cabbage sandwich. Second part of it. I was brought up in the 60s when times were brave and rough, a million miles from nowadays with all this fancy stuff. The 12 of us and Ma and Da and Granny lived with us as well. We used to call her Ding Dong because her maiden name was Belle. There was Jim and Pat and Tom and Joe, Bridge and Kate and John, that's me, Mary, Pete and Maeve and Anne, and the child was Rosemary. With 15 heads to feed and no room for fussy eaters, so when the grub was on the table, we'd attack like alligators. For breakfast we get gluey porridge, no Cocoa Pops or Special K, and we'd always wash them down with a jam jar full of tea. No roast beef for lunch or salad rolls with Limerick ham. It was half a soda farl with lemon curd and strawberry jam. We get no kebabs or pizzas that come in fancy coloured boxes, and a bagel was a hound for chasing hares and foxes. At dinner time the steak was rare, so rare it was never seen. We get a sausage or a veggie roll with spuds and Echo margarine. And at supper time we never seen no Chinese takeaways or chippers, but before we went to bed we got a thing my dad called dippers. It was a lump of Keady loaf rubbed round a greasy gravy pan, and you didn't need a plate, you just ate it in your hand. Granny Ding Dong used to love them and took no time to pause, and every time she took a bite the grace run down her jaws. She was brave and hard to fill and would always look more bread and say, "I'll chance a cabbage sandwich before I go to bed." The dinner menu rarely changed and was almost set in stone. We just ate all we got and knew better not to moan. On Mondays it was soup and spuds, and Tuesdays corned beef hash. On Wednesdays it was scallions or an egg made up in mash. Thursdays it was stew day, made up of vegetables and chief. I'm sure you heard of Spot the Ball, well this was Spot the Beef. It was always fish on Fridays, but no salmon steaks as I recall. Brown stuff boiled in milk and water, and nothing caught in Donegal. Sometimes we'd have a mackerel, and Ma fried them in flaked meal, and we used to laugh at Granny because she'd always hit the tail. The fishman come in a yellow van, and as soon as he'd arrive, the children all run after him because he shouted, "Horns alive!" Me and Tom were in the gang this day when he dropped his bread and treacle, but when he went to pick it up, his head was butted off the vehicle. Beneath a flock of flopping wellies and chants of hey, 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 yeah, poor old Tom was trampled, so I had to run for Ma. He spent 6 weeks in Armagh Hospital. We thought he wasn't going to do, but with a steel plate in his head, he come home as good as new. The doctor said that he was lucky, and it caused them great concern. And when he stood beside the telly, we could pick up television. We didn't have the telly long when old Ding Dong lost the plot, and she couldn't mind the half of what it was that she'd forgot. And after dinner every day, she'd sit in the chair and rock, while Ma watched Time of Tommy. He was on at 6 o'clock. Sometimes Granny drifted off to sleep, but then she'd wake up and pint and stare, and let a gulder at the telly. Who put that baldy boy in there? Then she'd rhyme off all her ailments, but every time she'd start, Ma, Da would say, "Your jaws are working well, but you'd eat the cribs of a cart." On Saturdays we always got Fray Bento steak and kidney pies, and when you put them in the oven they come out 3 times the size. With golden brown puff pastry, they looked a very wholesome meal, but when you stuck the fork in them they went down like a busted wheel. was well disguised in a gravy that was thin, and there'd always be a row to see who got to lick the tin. There was lumps of beef of some sort, but they were now no one knew. Ma called it her canine cuisine, Da called it Scooby-Dooby-Doo. And Saturdays was bath night, so we'd help to shine the shoes. So we'd look our best for mass, and we all got penny chews. Then we got to watch the film with a mug of cremola foam, and the girls would bawl their eyes out when Lassie never come home. Because it reminded them of our dog. They all thought that he was dead. But I knew Dad got the black man to drop him off and claw her head. And if a cowboy show was on, the house was always buzzing, until Ma would let her roar, it's time to dip the dirty dozen. There'd be gunfights down the hall, and we'd be dropping to our knees, with bellies full of lead as Ma corral listening trees. Wee Pete was always last, so he'd be in with Jim and Joe, and when Ma would turn her back, they'd rinse his hair with Granny's po. He'd jam the saucepan in his head, or dip his foot in the loo, and he'd go bawling up the hall like a Dalek or the Doctor Who. Though there was always meat on Sundays, shin bone or boiled ham, chickens they were very rare, and so were legs of lamb. But one time me father done a job for a man there in Oos. He didn't give him any money, but says he take home that goose. So Da wrung its neck and plucked it and hung it up behind the door, as he muttered to himself, "Those one humpy, hungry ear." I think he was keening. Ma cleaned it out and cooked it with an awful lot to do. I mean her saying to me, "Granny, that thing's as old as you." It might not be a goose at all, that boy's known for telling lies. I'd swear that thing's a buzzard or a seagull in disguise. She set him on the table and cut off the skin and fat. The girls got bits of breasts apiece, and so did me and Tom and Pat. And though the meat was tough and stringy, we took into it like no tomorrow. Granny Ding Dong ate the neck, and the chaws of whore was Tara. Ma and Da got legs apiece, and the legs were Jim's, and the wings were Jim's and Joe's. There was nothing left for poor wee Pete, so he ate the parson's nose. Then Ma gathered up the carcass, and well, like bones in one fell swoop. She says they'll do a turn tomorrow, for I'll make a pot of soup. Da said, sure, the next day after that, sure it won't do any harm. We'll hang the bones around our necks, and they'll do for Lucky Charms. Now I'm back round where I'm started, so it's time to end this ode. For we're all fed and watered, and I'm ready for the road. But I'm feeling slightly peckish, so as Granny Ding Dong used to say, I think I'll try a cabbage sandwich before I hit the hay.